The iPhone 6s was released in September 9th of 2015, and with the very successful launch of the iPhone 6 just 1 year earlier, it left people wondering how great this new iPhone will be. Some critics claim the iPhone 6s marked the end of the growth of Apple, but I think it's one of the best phones you can buy in 2019. What is going on, guys? Eric White in the building, and no, I did not choose my last name, unfortunately. Still didn't choose it. Hope you guys are all doing well, and welcome to the iPhone 6s Plus review. Now, this has been a long time in the making, and I wanted to make a review for this phone for a very long time. Some phones have died on me, some phones have stopped working. That is not the case. We have the phone now. I've had it for about a month now, and I'm finally ready to review it. Now, before we start the review, one thing I need to make clear is I am not an sheep. I'm not an Apple fanboy or anything like that. I've simply just enjoyed my experience on this iPhone to the fullest extent. Now, that's a little hint as to what the rest of the video is going to be like. But no, I haven't really had an iPhone for a majority of my life. In fact, if you've seen any of my previous videos, you would know that I've actually been on Android for literally 95 to 99% of my life. So just a little prerequisite before the video so you guys understand. Now, the other thing that I want to do is give a shout out to Fix It All in Modesto, California. They were fortunate enough to have the battery replaced for me on this new amazing phone. Now, they are not the sponsor of today's video, but they are a tremendous help in making this video possible. Now, if you have been an Apple fan for any length of time, you would know that this design is very, very familiar to you. It is classic Apple with the thick bezels at the top, and at the bottom, we have that regular home button. On the left, we have the volume rocker and that mute switch right above that, and on the right, we have that power button. Very familiar design, and overall, I pretty much don't have any complaints about this build quality of this phone. Now, when I got it, there was a couple of chinks and chunks out of the bottom of the display, but besides that, the phone looks absolutely amazing, flawless. As far as the build design goes, I have no complaints whatsoever. This phone comes off at around 143 grams, which is around 14 grams heavier than the 6 Plus, and overall it has a nice weight in the hands, and I pretty much enjoyed using every second of this phone. It can be very confusing in the world we live in today with all these A12 Bionic and A11 Fusion and Snapdragon 855. This phone does not have any of that. It is rocking that A9 chip, and to be honest, I have no complaints whatsoever. It's easily given me one of the best performances I've had out of a phone, and that's saying something considering this phone is 5 years old. Navigating the home screen was always nice and smooth, no dropped frames. App loading times were actually pretty decent, sometimes even loading faster than my Samsung Galaxy Note 8, which is saying something for a device that is 2 years younger than the iPhone 6s Plus. But overall, the performance has been pretty stellar, actually. Even now, for being 5 years old, once again, it is holding up very, very well. In fact, when the iOS 13 update comes out, I will be able to get that update on a 5-year-old device. I'm currently running the iOS 13 Beta 5, and it has been treating me very well, so I can't wait for that update in September. Now, when they came out with this phone, there are two very key improvements that they wanted to make to specific departments, and those departments being the camera and the display. Now, on this display, you're getting a 3D Touch 5.5-inch 750 by 1334 display. Now, basically, in regular people terms, that means you are getting a pretty decent display. It's not going to win any awards. It's not anything near the planet of what a Samsung device looks like with the vibrant 2K display with those nice bleed your eyes out colors. It's not going to be anything like that, but it does get plenty bright outdoors. The resolution is pretty nice, and to be honest, you're not going to have any complaints if you decide to go with this phone over any other phone. It is Apple's IPS LCD display, so you know they have some kind of different technology behind the regular LCD, and it is a really nice display. Like, I honestly have no complaints, and I have been using Samsungs for around half of my life, so that is saying a lot that I like this display. Now, I mentioned earlier that it is a 3D touch display. Now, when they came out with this phone, they wanted to introduce something different, and that is where this 3D touch comes into play. Basically, with that, it allows you to do a shortcut into a specific task that you want to do. For instance, if you wanted to go directly to your Bluetooth settings, you don't want to open the settings app, go to Bluetooth, tap on Bluetooth, and then do whatever you want to do. Instead, what you can do is force touch on that settings app icon. It'll bring up this little menu with different options that you can choose. You choose one and it goes directly there without even leaving that home screen. Now, this is pretty practical, and to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really use it that much because I kind of forgot it was there. There's not really a whole bunch that it invites you to do. There's not even a whole bunch of app optimization. Some apps don't even have an option for you to use it. So it was a nice execution, but as far as how good it plays out and how practical it is, it kind of falls short of that, which is sad to say.
All right, hold on, everybody. Hold together. 10 seconds.
Now, I mentioned earlier that they made 2 key enhancements to some departments of this phone, and that is the display and the camera. Now, I'm happy to say that the camera on this phone takes some of the best pictures on a phone that I have ever seen. Now, on the back, we have that 12 megapixel sensor, and on the front, we have that 5 megapixel sensor. And the pictures coming out of the back sensor specifically are nice, decently colored, and also pretty decently sharp images. They're not gonna bleed your eyes out, and they're not on the pinnacle of smartphone cameras like the Pixel. But to be honest, if you weren't comparing it and you just want a point and shoot camera that does the job, this camera is definitely there for you. I mean, we are talking some pretty nice colors, especially if you decide to keep the HDR off. Now, in my experience, whenever I turn the HDR on, it tends to flatten out the image, and that's because it would bring the highlights down, the brightest part of the image down, and bring the shadows up, or the darkest part of the image up, and it would overall end up resulting in this kind of flat looking image, which I really didn't like. So if you are going to be taking pictures on this, I would advise you to turn the HDR off, because it doesn't really flatten out your image that much, and you are still getting great pictures out of that back facing sensor. Now, the front facing sensor is a different story. Now, I didn't take a lot of selfies just because I'm not really that person, but when I did, they were very, very good selfies, and that's coming from someone with an 8 megapixel sensor on my Galaxy Note 8. The pictures were nice and crisp. Sometimes they looked a little bit lopsided and weird. I don't know if it's just my face that looks like that, but overall the sensors on these cameras can easily do the job for what you need it to do in 2019. And all of that is great. It's nice to have a great display, a great camera, great performance, but how does that battery hold up, as that's pretty much the most important aspect when it comes to buying a phone. And I'm happy to say that this phone easily lasted me an entire 12 to 16 hour day with moderate usage. Now, that usage included Snapchat, a lot of YouTube, like a lot of YouTube, constant messaging, a few FaceTime calls here and there, and Instagram every now and then, like pretty much moderate usage. Like, I'm on YouTube quite a bit, and this phone always lasted me an entire day. It is rocking a 2750 milliamp hour battery, and that thing is a champ in 2019, and I cannot believe I'm saying that, but a phone that has less than 3000 milliamps is actually better than a lot of phones in 2019, which is very sad to say, but it is a great battery. I guarantee you, with my usage, or even if you use it a little bit heavier, you can still get through an entire day, maybe grabbing that charger a couple hours before you go to bed, but overall, no complaints in the battery department. Now, once again, I want to give a shout out to Fix It All Modesto for replacing the battery for me on this phone. I cannot thank them enough for doing that. If you guys need anything in the Modesto, California area, a phone case, a battery replacement, make sure you go down there, ask for Jason, and he will hook you guys up. I don't have a discount code, and they aren't the sponsor of today's video, but they did a great job, great customer service, and overall, I just want to make sure that they get the shout out that they deserve for making this video possible. And that's pretty much it for the review. Now, just a little recap. The performance on this phone is absolutely amazing. No dropped frames, very smooth performance, decent app loading speeds, like literally the best experience I've had on a phone in a very long time. And I've only been using it for a month, so let's see what happens in the future. The display is also pretty decent too. If you're not comparing it, or you don't want a 4K display with 15,000 nits, this phone is not going to be it for you. But if you just want a decent screen and you know what you're getting yourself into when you buy an Apple phone, you're not going to be disappointed with this display. 750 by 1334, 3D touch if you decide to use it, and just an overall decent display, and I have no complaints whatsoever. The camera also takes some pretty decent pictures and also some pretty awesome selfies if you decide to go selfie crazy. And the pictures coming out of it are nice, decent, beautiful colors, and overall just a great image. And all of that doesn't matter if it doesn't have a good battery, and I'm happy to say that the battery easily lasted me an entire day with moderate usage. Now, in a world in 2019 where we have an endless choice of phones that we can choose from, a $230 phone might seem to turn heads, and they're like, no, you can't get a good experience for $230, but I'm happy to say that for $230, you are getting one of the best experiences from a 5-year-old phone than any phone in 2019. But anyway, guys, that is all I got for you on this fine evening. If you guys liked the video, make sure you go down below, click that like button, and turn it blue. If you guys are new, have no idea who I am, what kind of videos I do, make sure you guys click that sub button, join Innovation Nation, and just like always, I will see you guys in the next one.